Oh, we've got people joining already.
And I can hear everybody, so that works.
Got all
Here we
right.
are. Wow, it looks so official.
Greetings, handlers. We are live with the audiobook narration crew. Can everybody hear us all right? All right. I think so. We did a test beforehand to make sure that the audio was working good. But what we'll do is we're going to do a quick introduction from each of our wonderful narrators and voice actors. And then we're going to get into chapter readings and we're going to read chapters 1 through 4. So it's going to be a good length stream and we'll probably take some breaks and we'll do some chapter discussion throughout as well. Um, but yeah, without any more waiting, you guys all know me. My name's Dillon, and you've probably seen my face popping up in your videos and whatnot, talking about these burrowing rodents, hyrax, and psionics, all those sorts of fun adventures. If we want to go around the screen, we can go to Claire and then John and Jack. So, Claire, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Claire. I'm playing Mari and a couple other supporting roles. I'm an actor in New York City, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. My favorite rodent is a guinea pig or a capybara, which they're basically the same thing, but they're my favorite.
Scaled up. Nice.
Uh, I am John. I am not a professional actor, uh, and I live in the same town as Dillon. I work with Dillon, and I'm excited to be a part of this book. I will be voicing Jero and a few other smaller roles. And my favorite rodent, it's got to be the capybara, 100%.
My name's Jack. I am an aspiring professional voice actor in Nashville, Tennessee. I will be playing Greg today, and it's not technically a rodent, but my favorite, and please don't come at me. I love hyraxes. They're my favorite. If I had to choose a rodent, I'd probably say a capybara as well. Although marmots are pretty up there as well. So I'm excited to be a part of this today for sure.
Awesome. And I just want to say that in my next book, I've actually started storyboarding it, and guinea pigs and capybara are both going to play pretty critical roles. So they will get featured pretty heavily in book 2.
Love it.
All right. Well, without further ado, suppose if you're ready, Claire, we can jump into reading chapter 1.
Absolutely. Alrighty, everyone. Chapter 1. Eyes. Thick dust sealed Mari's eyelashes shut as cool, dank air enveloped her still form. She drew a ragged breath that caught the dust heavy in her lungs. One arm swept out to trace the dirt-laden stone floor, while the other paw rubbed her eyes free. A faint blue glow pooled in the cavern's corner, delicate and steady. She blinked into it, and her pupils widened. She sat up. A shattered mural stretched across the wall in front of her, fractured and scarred into illegibility. Overhead, stalactites hung, their tips lost in shadow. Sulfur stung her nostrils as she inhaled. Mari searched her mind for how she'd ended up here, but the memories eluded her, fragments of a dream slipping away. I'll figure out what's going on, even if I can't remember how I got here. Struggling to stand, she raised her arms overhead in a deep stretch. How long have I been lying like that? A shiver of uncertainty ran up her spine. Her stomach growled. She put a few she put a paw to it, as if pressure alone would calm the gnawing. Must have been ages. I haven't been this hungry since the war. A scan of the chamber drew her toward the sole source of light. Recognition lifted her face. Her lantern. Picking it up, she turned the compact rectangular prism over in her paws, inspecting it for damage. She wiped the opaque emitters clean, then clipped it back onto the shoulder strap of her pack. Under the cool, milky blue glow, the surrounding space sharpened. Back at the chamber's center, Mari noticed the walls formed a rough arch filled with rubble, like a passage collapsed on purpose, or crushed by time. She crouched where she had awoken and ran a nail along the ground. The dust held a shallow impression of her body. Was I carried here? There would be tracks. Someone else's something. Anything. None. No tracks led to this spot, Mari's or otherwise. The mural drew her closer. In the lantern's light, the details gained depth, shadows catching in every crack and gouge. The mural stretched the full length of the wall. Much of it had deep scratches that broke it into pieces and defaced it, leaving large sections illegible. In the center sat an emblem marked with 3 diamonds. They formed a triangle. The bottom 2 joined at their middle parts, with the third set above to complete the shape. A ring enclosed the diamonds. Beneath it, sharp lines joined in grouped segments of varying length, like a language made of angles. Mari dropped her pack off one shoulder and swung it around in front of her. Rifling through it, she pulled out a metal cylinder and a small piece of chalk. Unscrewing the end exposed a roll of parchment. She drew it out, and flattened it over the emblem. Holding the chalk flat against the parchment, she rubbed quickly, transferring the outline of the symbol and its markings in pale, dusty strokes. I'll bring this back to the burrow. Rufus might know something. She tucked the parchment away and closed the cylinder, then crossed the chamber to the blocked passage. A crisp breeze pressed through the cracks between the boulders. Both paws found the debris as she leaned in, then turned her head and rested an ear against the loose wall. Only her heartbeat answered, loud in the silence. A few steps back gave her space to think. Okay, a mind blast could clear this. The thought tightened her chest. In class, it usually came up empty. Still, Mr. Crabhorb's lesson. Clear your mind and... She paused, breath held. I almost forgot. She knelt by her pack and pulled out what looked like a petrified watermelon half, precisely engraved across the brow, read Stone Paw, preceded by a series of nested chevrons topped with a bar and 2 dots. She spun it around, lifted it over her tiny head, and set the helmet firmly in place. The world narrowed as it gathered her mind, shielding the noise from her thought. With the pack on her back, Mari refocused on the rubble pile. Paws came tight to her chest, shoulders rounding forward, fingers curved around an empty sphere. The same mental pep talks restarted, one she'd used 100 times in class. Okay, clear your mind. Clear your mind and focus on the intent. Her palms rotated outward toward the loose stone as her chest opened and her gaze fixed on the wall. She felt something internal catch, like a hook in her mind. Let the intent move through you and see it through. A blast reverberated through the space. Mari's lantern shuddered and dust choked the air. Her short, smooth fur stood on end as static snapped between the fibers. A moment later, the sounds of rock and rubble impacting somewhere beyond the chamber echoed back around her. Her throat seized. A hard cough punched out into the dark. The effort left a metallic taste in her mouth as pressure welled like she'd clenched a muscle deep inside her skull. It worked. It actually worked. Warm sunlight broke through the swirling dust, reflecting off millions of suspended particles. The glinting haze coalesced into familiar shapes. Almond eyes guided her vision to a thick nose resting above a mouth, interrupted by 2 smooth teeth. Coarse hair framed the features. The space held like a breath, then let go, and fragrant air rushed inward through the new opening. Mom? Her unease faded, replaced by warmth. Nostalgia washed over her and brought her back to the days before the war, when she was small and her mother's unrelenting affection dominated her world. She scrambled over the pile of debris, chunks of rock shifting underfoot. Nuts! Wish that one had been in class. Maybe then the others would stop acting like I can't manifest at all. As Mari moved into the next room, she found the source of the daylight. An opening nearly 40 tails up cut a pale rectangle into the stone. No second chances from that high. A rope hung from the edge all the way to the floor, its slack coiled at the base. She looked back at the passage she had just come through. Most of the chamber was lined with unremarkable rock walls, but the doorway itself was different. Sculpted images of burrowing rodents framed it ornately. Some battled fish. Others defended against aerial assaults from birds. Near the top was a bipedal creature that Mari had never seen before. Surrounded by burrowing rodents of all types, it looked less like a threat and more like a partner, a friend. She reached out a paw. As it drew near the carvings, a wave of energy pulsed through the inscriptions. Reflexively, she withdrew. She paused, then reached back to see if it would happen again. Nothing. Mari studied the scene a while longer, committing what she could to memory, then made her way to the rope. She climbed toward the opening, broke into the light, and ascended into the day. Her eyes squinted. The setting sun was intense. She pulled off the helmet and slid it into her pack, then reached into her vest pocket and pulled out a pair of shades. Donning them instantly relieved her eyes. The round frames mechanically expanded a thin layer of canvas that covered even the sides, effectively sealing her from the light. Mari surveyed her surroundings. She knew she was at the north end of Long Valley. Scrub and stubby pine trees marked the red, rocky landscape. Nearby mountains towered, lining the horizon in all directions. Beside the opening she had just climbed from sat a large boulder. Fresh drag tracks betrayed any secret that it had once covered this entrance. No way I moved that, unless I manifested like that before I woke up here. She drew a breath, pressed her tongue to the big flat incisors, and released it into a powerful whistle. From a nearby bush, a large rabbit leapt out, dark tan fur peppered with black and white markings. Its sail-like ears eclipsed the sun. Mari guessed it was just over an hour from slipping below the horizon. Relief softened her face into a smile. "Ah, there you are, my beautiful boy," she said, patting his muscular haunch. His nose twitched vigorously, each nostril flaring and shifting as it searched for rogue scents. Glossy eyes empty of thought stared toward the horizon. A riding harness, saddle, and bags were strapped to him. Mari reached into one of the saddlebags and pulled out another long tube. She unscrewed the flat cap and withdrew a thick roll of well-used paper. "All right, Flip," she said, glancing between him and the landscape. "What are we doing out here? And why can't I remember anything?" She unfurled a large map, turning Flip's backside into an impromptu table. Her thin finger traced the route back home. "I'm not seeing any notes." She gave him a side eye. "You remember anything?" Flip dropped a few quick pellets onto the dry, rocky ground. "Yeah, thought not," Mari muttered. "All right, let's go get home before dark. The birds will be out soon." She grabbed Flip's harness and, in one swift motion, levered herself into the saddle, then kicked firmly with her heels. Off they went, bounding down the valley at high speed. As they wove through familiar terrain, the last bits of bright blue of daylight faded and were replaced by deep warm hues. The clouds shifted into light pink puffs, stretched by the wind. Mari turned the strange events over in her mind, trying to remember what she had been doing before waking in that chamber. The last thing that surfaced was a conversation with her friend Jarrow. He was an engineer from Deepworks, a subsurface dam and power station. But it had been ordinary. They'd been talking about her upcoming psionics exam and what she planned to do after the academy. The wind whipped through her fur. Well, she said to Flip, but mostly to herself. I suppose that's somewhere to start. Ahead, ancient megalithic ruins lined a wide path of crumbled black gravel that stretched down the rocky trough and into a narrow pass leading out of Long Valley. A distant calling snapped her back to the danger of being exposed on the surface. Instinctively, she pulled her body tight to Flip, pressing her chest against his back. She tilted her head toward the sound and spotted two winged forms approaching. Ruins are bad luck. Birds? Birds are worse. A bent metal stick held the twisted remains of a red octagonal panel, the turn-off point. Mari pulled Flip's reins hard and directed him sharply into the ruins. She slid her leg over and dismounted in one motion. Together they ducked under a rectangular gray pillar that had toppled and come to rest on another dilapidated structure. Rusted sticks of ribbed metal protruded from its broken end, tangled in each other's grasp. Mari and Flip slipped into a windowless room and hunkered down in a nook. Dust coated everything. Framed compartments rose to the high ceiling, their contents long since scavenged. Shards of glass littered the black and white checkered floor. Some sections were torn away to reveal a yellow underlayer. A smooth red counter was tilted against the main entrance. It struggled to prop up part of the collapsing roof, bracing against time and gravity. Two sets of sweeping wings disturbed the silence. The clacking of talons replaced them on the firm surface outside. Mari looked into Flip's eye, placed a paw on his ear, and pressed a finger to her pursed lips. The tapping shifted to a sharp crunch as something entered the decaying building. A loud squawk startled Mari. As she drew closer to Flip, she could feel his heart pounding fast and hard, and his face stayed ignorantly stoic, as if he still hadn't decided this was dangerous. More cawing followed, an exchange between the two birds. The sheen of deep black plumage flashed in the shelving gaps. Mari was frozen in fear. Then there was a loud scuff, and the clatter of claws retreated. Mari let out a slow breath as the sounds disappeared entirely. After another moment of silence, they returned to their path. Twilight had taken over, and stars began to poke through the darkening violet sky. The landscape softened as they rode, shifting into verdant foliage. Clusters of towering trees gathered along a creek, tracing its path like a dark ribbon. Mari guided Flip toward the thick, meandering line of vegetation and used it as cover. They had transitioned into the foothills now, and the hidden entrance to the burrow wasn't much farther. A downed tree signaled the location. She rode up and hopped off Flip's back, then quickly scanned the area. Her paw found a familiar limb worn smooth from use. She gave it a twist. A mechanical click answered, and a small metal pad slid into view as the tree shifted. Without waiting for it to fully open, Mari pressed her paw onto it. A red light glowed beneath her skin, then flipped to green and faded out. The gray mass of wood hinged at one end. Soft light similar to Mari's lantern lined a descending ramp and spilled outward into the night like a quiet invitation. Mari led the way with Flip close at heel, and they began to descend. The chirping of crickets faded behind them. A deep thud followed. Mari glanced back as the entrance resealed.
All right, that was awesome. Thanks, Claire.
Yeah,
Woo!
of course.
Great job.
Everyone loves Flip.
Yeah, I was seeing that.
He's lovable. What can I say?
I
Very
love Flip.
lovable.
Flip's Flip's my favorite no-line character that is in the entire book. Probably one of the only no-line characters, I guess. He's the animal. I've always said he's the animal in the world of animals. So it's fun
Yeah.
to have that.
Are rabbits not rodents?
They're lagomorphs, so they're technically in a
Wow.
different. I don't know if that's what like order that is, if it's order or family or whatever.
Mm.
But yeah, they're in a different grouping.
We learn something new every
Fascinating.
day.
Yeah, so I've always said that lagomorphs they don't have the like the proper neural architecture to channel psionics, but they still have a role to fill in the world.
Are they a little smooth-brained?
Yeah, a little smooth brained, if you will. Yeah.
Like a koala. Like I've heard koalas have the smoothest brains.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that you'll see too in later chapters, and you guys have all read this, but there is some channeling that may happen through Flip, so it is possible for some psionics.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, do you guys have any? I mean, we can talk about it here, or we can answer. I don't know if there's a whole bunch of chat. It's hard to catch up with all of it. But I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts or questions about chapter one from your guys' perspective?
I just love that it's immediately introduced like a big mystery. You know, anytime a character wakes up and is like, "Why am I here?" You're like, "What?" You know.
Yeah.
So
And it's a
but
bit cliche too. I know. That was like one of the feedback I got was like waking up with amnesia is such a like cliche way to start a book, but I think that
I love it.
yeah, I think it provides a lot of opportunity, and I hope I did it right because by the end of the book, it does kind of tidy up nicely, and I think it comes together well. I don't know if John's all the
Sure.
way to the end yet. John, did you finish to the very end yet?
I'm not. I'm a slow reader, and
Yeah, you got
but
little ones too, so you
yeah,
got a good
yeah.
excuse.
I'm reading Project Hail Mary right now, and it starts the kind of the same way. Not the same way, but like waking up, not knowing where you are, and you're like, "What the heck?" So
Yeah,
I love that. Like,
Yeah,
give me
I've
more.
always
I don't care.
yeah,
I've always
Are
liked
you
stories that are
listening
just
to
like
that one?
Oh yeah, I'm listening to the audiobook.
Yeah, Ray Porter.
nice.
Good
I've
job.
always just I've loved stories that just unapologetically are like, okay, so here's the world and you're in it. We're not gonna explain anything. We're just gonna throw you right in. I've always loved stories like that. So
Yeah,
I agree.
cool. Well, I'm glad you guys like it, and I hope that everybody in the chat enjoyed that first chapter. And if we're gonna be moving on to chapter two here, if you don't have any questions,
This is a very silly question, but I had a brain. So like when you're like actually recording your audiobook, you can
yeah,
obviously like stop and fix your flubs or your errors. But I had a brain panic of like sometimes words have two pronunciations, but then I like question if I'm right or wrong. Can you say bipedal and bipedal, or is it just bipedal?
I think both are fine.
Okay. Well,
I
we can
would,
discuss what you prefer for the book. Because as I was like, I had a moment of like, wait, which one is correct? Wait, are they both correct? You know, like a little very fast
yeah,
internal dialogue.
I think I say bipedal, but
Bipedal. Well,
I
that's what I
think either
said. So
pronunciation
okay,
is correct. I
okay,
don't think you're wrong
okay,
there. So
okay.
yeah,
Just narrator things. We have a lot of like jokes about things that we like really deliberate over, like how to say, because there are multiple pronunciations of a lot of English words,
uh
you
huh.
know, and
It's a silly
it's a whole thing.
language. It's a
It's a
silly
very
silly
silly
language.
language.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
don't
then
know if
it's
anyone
like,
else. Oh, go ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no, you go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I grew up watching, British dinosaur documentaries, and they were like bipedal, bipedal, like they switched constantly, and I was like, well, that's
Mm,
not helpful. That's the
right.
most
Yeah,
confusing thing ever.
That's so
I don't know if
funny.
anyone in the chat relates to that, but I was big on documentaries as a kid, and the British pronounce everything differently, so
right.
They
Right.
can't be
I
relied
I
upon.
get the confusion.
Have you seen
Yep.
him? Have you heard him say guacamole? It's a mess.
Yeah.
Aluminum too.
I
Is
don't
it
know if I have. I mean,
aluminium?
Mm.
aluminum. Yeah.
How do they say
I
guacamole? Is it
They say it like guacamole.
guacamole, like
Guacamole.
whack-a-mole.
whack-a-mole?
Yeah,
Whoa,
they
we don't
they
talk
had
about
a
whacking moles here.
Oh yeah.
Great British Bake Off.
Ooh, good call.
They did Taco Week on Great British Bake Off for some reason, and it was rough.
Schedule. Yeah,
Schedule.
schedule.
And they
Yeah.
don't say a hospital, they just say hospital. We need to go to hospital. I'm like,
Mm,
Right.
yeah.
what do you mean? Which one?
That's
Yeah.
so funny. And then you get into the regionalisms of the US English stuff. Like, I've done books where I'm like, wait, how do they say pecan or pecan or caramel or caramel? And you're like, where am I in the world and who says what? So
Mm-hmm.
There's
English is
one
such a fun language.
later in the book. I don't know. You guys, I think, have all gotten there. And aubergine or aubergine. I don't know how you say
Yes,
it actually. And I was like, that word always has gotten me because that's just another. That's like the European term for eggplant, basically. And I'd never heard it
right.
before. And I heard it. I don't know. I mean, it was till like a few years ago I'd heard it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But
Yeah.
I think that
I
one
think
might go past some people.
aubergine. I say aubergine,
Yeah,
I
aubergine.
think. Yeah.
I've heard it both
Yeah.
ways. Yeah.
Aubergine. I think it's French. So I don't know how they would
French.
say it.
Yeah, it would be French, huh?
Yeah.
That does sound very French.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And then we borrow words and yeah. Anyway. So I just had, but thank you for validating my
Yeah.
choice to say bipedal.
The other thing I've done a lot in my life is I grew up saying zealot instead of zealot. Is just
Really?
like reading words and then I like pronounced them my own way in my mind. And I think that was from like StarCraft. Playing StarCraft, there was like Protoss had the infantry unit as zealots, and I
Mm-hmm.
always
That's
said
funny.
zealot, and then I was like, oh, okay. Somebody I heard it pronounced differently. I was like, oh, I'm not saying that correct. So
That's funny.
yeah,
Yeah. I've had those moments too where I'm like, oh, I was reading that like a word that you've only ever read and you've never actually heard it pronounced. And then you're like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not how I was saying it at all. But
yeah.
that's cool.
All
So
right. Well, very
chapter
cool.
2?
Yeah, thanks for chapter one. We're gonna jump into chapter two here, and we'll
Yeah.
do another break between chapter two and three, and answer any chat questions or kind of talk a little bit about the chapter and just like we just did. So, all
Yep.
right.